Perhaps I can hand over to Mike to make some closing remarks and perhaps give us a sort of overview of what you think has happened here.
I'm Mike Fourman. I'm an academic, and I'm here, I guess, at least in part because I chaired the Royal Society of Edinburgh group that did a Digital Scotland report a few years ago now. And in that report, we suggested, we lost Trudy? Oh, no, you're there. You're there for a moment. I couldn't see you. And I thought, oh, she's gone already. We suggested that it would be good if there were open access fibre giving optical connectivity between any 2 points in Scotland. Clearly, you can't mean that in a mathematical sense, but near enough to any 2 points in Scotland. I'm pleased to say that's now part of the Scottish Government's policy. I'll be interested to see how that works, and it would be very interesting if we can make it both available and affordable, but we'll see how that pans out. LINX, one thing that worried me about this meeting was LINX stands, well, I thought it stood for London. I now understand it means Local Internet Exchange, so it will work fine. Another thing that we pointed out in our report actually was the Vat issue, which Scotland could do independently, but civil servants don't know how to unravel it. In fact, in London, Ed Vaizey wanted to unravel the Vat issue, but he said to the House of Lords Committee that he gave up, he couldn't do it, and he didn't think even the Treasury could do it. So it's very tied up, I think, in part with the way BT was privatised. So that's an issue. Now, I jotted down some things. I thought, oh yeah, I understand this stuff a bit. I wrote those down, of course. So you can find that on the internet, I guess. Then I thought, where are there exchanges? So you can find this map on the internet, Internet Exchange Map from Google, and it can tell you that. And this is interesting because some places have lots, some have very few, there are gaps, and there's no discernible pattern. Part of what's going on in here, I think, is that different things are put on the map in different countries, so that's part of it. But part of it does seem to be that some places are more regionalised than others. And interesting to hear the discussion today about the factors that affect that. So we've heard that backhaul and resilience are all important. Our demands are going up, so whatever you do in the last mile, you've got your fibre to the house, but it's all going to get aggregated, and then it depends how much whoever's doing the backhaul is charging. So one obvious thing, to an academic at least, is so reduce the use of the backhaul. Get the data closer to the user, or get the links between people who are sending data, not to go all the way tromboning down to London and back, but to make it happen locally. So that seems to be like the argument on backhauls, the issue, is an argument for having an exchange, not an argument against having an exchange. There's a report on the internet, came out last year on the effects on the local economy of having an internet exchange in Kenya and Nigeria, I think. Well worth reading. It comes out saying, yes, it does have an effect. It stimulates local entrepreneurship. I think it's the shorthand way of saying it. So there's all of that. If you look at how the internet works, the simple picture is, over here you have an ISP, over here I have an ISP. They get connectivity from someone, they get connectivity from someone. It goes up to a level 1. And on the way up, everybody's paying something. And so that charge has to come down to the user, the end user. So again, shortcutting means that there's fewer people to pay. So again, it's sort of blindingly obvious. And I found it quite strange to hear the arguments. But of course, those are arguments in terms of just pure technology, whereas the arguments we've been hearing today have actually been in terms of, does it make sense for this player in this market to buy into this project in terms of their bottom line? And that's where economics gets much more complicated. And the economics of the internet is a very complicated thing because people want to make as much money as they can. They can charge people to connect. And then, for instance, with the level 3 Comcast Netflix thing, you see that people can charge for delivering content, or at least try to. So sorting those things out, I think the dynamics of the internet, which is part of what we've been talking about today, is actually much more complicated than the naive picture. But I do think it's good to go back to naive pictures. So what do London, Glasgow, and Amsterdam have in common that means that for hundreds of years they've been centres? They're all ports. Going more modern, what did Dubai, Atlanta, and Reykjavik have in common? They're airport hubs. Why? They can be there, they can make use of the fact that it helps people to connect, to go from here to there. So if you look at the internet, being a hub is actually something that draws activity in just the same way as in those other forms of commerce in the past. Being a hub has been something that makes you important. So if you're a small country like Scotland, and you're just relying on London, then a lot of the stuff is just going to happen in London. And it seems to me, again, to be a no-brainer. So finally, I also don't like latency. I like my screen at work to appear on my screen at home. And you know what? At the moment, with the service I get, that doesn't work. I can't run a decent X server from home to work, even though it's only half a mile, unless I put my own wireless link in, which I'm about to do. So I think there are lots of reasons. Now, as I say, I think the thing I've learned today is that it's really not about would this make sense if you were an engineer and you had to design the network and serve all these people and you just wanted to make it work efficiently. It's clear that it would make sense. What's much, much harder is to say, how can we make it happen within the political and economic situation that we find ourselves in with the people we have here? What I sense is there's enough goodwill here to make it happen. I certainly hope so, because otherwise we will have a substandard internet. And that's the other thing I think I've learned. Thanks.